interested?
Not really. I'm just making sure you're not trying to invite your army of demonic tentacle monsters over for a party or something.
I tried to make me go to high pocket, mate. I'm talking to you now. Shh, be quiet, you rangers.
Can we please have a little bit of trust at this point? I mean, of all the places in this expansive galaxy, this isn't the most comfortable location for me to be in. Besides, I'm not Fulgrim.
So you're telling me that succulent food, a luxurious atmosphere, and an actual bed are less comfortable than the realm that is literally a collective seizure?
If you had more mental capacity than a box of Grox manure, maybe you too would appreciate its own unique majesty.
This assumes that I'm insane enough to want to. Nevertheless, you just being here is a sign of trust in my lord, is it not?
Perhaps. Crazy. Damn skeleton. Why are you still here?
Well, okay, tell me. What are you actually doing? Don't mistake my question for curiosity, I'm mostly just concerned.
Research, observation, experimentation, calming my nerves, listening to the whispers of the warp, passing the time of day, and so on. Albeit it's pretty damn hard to get a good focus in this place, with Father around. Finding any warp traffic to spy on, which isn't tinted gold and full of pent-up frustration, is like trying to remove a demonic incursion from your rectum.
No, I left my heresy detector in my chambers, but I can hear it going on from here.
Ow! Ow! Stop that!
Stop what?
Stop dazzling me with your ignorance! Your shiny, half-baked head is burning through my retina like an acid made of stupid— Seriously, though, have you still not got that this heresy expression you speak of is just your Imperium's excuse to put a giant bolt into the head of anyone who goes against you? The Imperium is like a child in a "my dad is better than your dad" argument that received the right to kill anyone that attempts to argue back, you witless dildodes.
Well, if you didn't make everything so, I don't know, diabolical, creepy, and straight-up evil, maybe you wouldn't be such easy targets for both propaganda and a bolt shell to the forehead. I mean, you're not doing yourselves any favours by wearing the skin of your enemies, for example.
For your information, I have never worn the skin of my enemies. Do I look like a Necron Flayer to you?
To be fair, the Necrons and your Thousand Sons do have pretty similar motives nowadays.
Yes, we've already sent the cease and desist order. They're just being ferocious plasteel dicks about it.
Regardless, you still look like you woke up on the wrong side of the Eye of Terror.
I do see where you're coming from. All the decapitated heads and giant spikes do make it look like we're compensating for one thing or another. Like lack of decent parents. But to be fair, given your Imperium's alarming obsession with skulls, I'd say you have some issues of your own. Nevertheless, did you only come here to watch over my shoulder, or did you have some other reason?
Well, I actually wanted to ask you something.
Well, go ahead. Might break the monotony.
I've been wondering. I've served my Emperor for somewhere around 11,000 years or so. I don't really keep track anymore. And even though he's our father, I don't actually know all that much about him besides from what I've seen with my own eyes.
Isn't that enough?
Of course it is. After fighting this side and hearing his dreams for humanity, no sane man could not appreciate his majesty, wisdom, and might.
Indirectly calling me insane now.
Truly, he is the one and only worthy leader of mankind. But where did he come from? Did he have parents, or did he just, I don't know, crawl out of a gold deposit? Not that's a bad thing, of course. I'm sure it was the most glorious deposit in the world.
Oh, hungering for some crisp, luscious knowledge, are we? How fascinating. I thought you companions were especially trained to act as completely uninteresting, impersonal automatons.
Well, truth be told, I think as time has gone by, most of us have either gone a bit into the cuckoo's nest or have managed to retain some, form of rationality. Actually, I'm the one exception. Everyone has completely lost their mind.
Hey, kitten! Want to go and take a swim in the Promethean pools with us?
No.
Fine, be that way.
As I was saying, I'd still follow the Emperor right into the Eye of Terror if he commanded it. I live for him, I follow his every word, and I never defy him. And I would happily give my life for him. But, well, there's the thing. I'd happily give my life for him.
Implying that you can actually be happy. Which also implies the fact that you have thoughts and feelings of your own, Which subsequently implies you aren't an incredibly stale person whose personal interest can be summed in the words, standing around.
I guess that's part of the reason why I was elected to the position of Captain General. After millennia of isolation and your occasional murdering of demons trying to creep in, I'm the one and only companion who's not batshit insane.
And I suppose that's also part of the reason why you're still wearing your armor after all this time.
Yeah! Or, well, not all this time.
Oh?
I went through a phase. Can't say I'm particularly proud of it. Those loincloths really don't leave much to the imagination, you know. Way they rude. I swear I could taste the floss.
Anyway, as you were asking...
Ah, yes. The subject. Okay, I know he's been around pretty much as long as humanity has, and that he has gracefully guided us through all of that, but... did he make humanity in his image, or is he simply the guardian of our species? And if he made us, what made him? And if he didn't make us, what made us?
Ah, the oldest question in human history. What are our origins? Sadly, I'm of little help to you in that field. Been too busy comprehending the Materium and superhero comics.
Really? Didn't the Emperor tell you himself? And if he didn't, don't you have some old archaic book about it or something?
Actually, he never told me much about his own past or humanity's origins. Perhaps he didn't want us to know, since he's always been so exasperatingly introvert about things like teaching. That, or it's because I never really asked. May have been the latter, all things considered. And no, I don't have an old book lying about that specifically tells us where we all came from. Only my neurotic brother Lorgar would have the talent to write a fictive suicide of that caliber. Besides, even if I had a book like that, all the exciting demon tomes with screaming faces and beware signs lying about would probably just make it look severely unappealing in comparison.
Gah, I suspected as much. And I've looked through all the tomes and slates in the palace's libraries, all the data stored in archives of ancient texts and journals. I've even looked through albums of travel photos for Terra's sake, but I couldn't find anything about the time before the Emperor conquered Terra during the Age of Strife.
If you are that curious, why not just ask Father himself?
Yeah, I don't know. Multiple reasons. His mind is so splintered that remembering such ancient knowledge might make him fling his skull across the room like a bowling ball. That, and I'm much unsure if he'd actually want to tell me. I mean, if he never told you, why would he tell me?
Well, he does seem to like you, despite him being grumpiness incarnate. He relies on you to listen to his boundless complaints and to inform him about, to quote, stupid shit. I'd even say he trusts you. He certainly trusts you more than he trusts me or any of his other sons for that matter. Actually, are you sure you're not his wife or something?
No, of course not, but... wait. Really? You think so?
Indeed, stepmother.
First of all, quiet you. Second of all, I think you might be right.
I'm really wrong.
So I might just go and ask him then.
You do that.
Actually, don't you want to come too?
Nah, I'm gonna practice for that talent show that I heard is coming up next Thursday. You say they're batshit insane, but your fellow companions do seem to know how to have a good time.
Unless you want soggy hair and stained armor for a week, I would highly recommend you drop that.
Why should I... Oh.
Ellipsis.
Maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all.
So let me get this straight. You mean to say that you really have no records of human history before the Age of Strife accessible within the Imperial Palace?
No, not really. Most of it is so heavily censored by the Ecclesiarchy and the Inquisition that it more closely resembles a barcode than it does anything else.
So you have no recollection of the tales of the Old Ones, my own conception, the rebellion of the Men of Iron, or any other tidbits of humanity actually kicking ass? Incredible. I honestly thought I'd hit the greasy fucking bottom of this shithole when you told me of the Inquisition's activities, but I'm just now realizing that I'm only scratching the surface of this frozen ocean of ineptitude. It's almost as if nobody wants to hear about how our people weren't the be-all and all of civilization in this cesspit of a galaxy.
Yeah, funny that, isn't it?
Right, this is something that I shall now unfuck post-haste. Magnus, fetch some parchment and do what you do best. Take notes.
Do not worry, I always have paper with me.
What a fucking nerd you are. Anyway, I want you to write down everything I am about to tell you, and when I'm done, rewrite the whole damn thing as a grand historical document. Then I want you to start covering it in holy seals and shit, and then throw it into a pile of dirt for a while, so it gets that shitty old paper look. That'll make stupid people think it's inherently trustworthy. Oh, and shiny britches?
Yes, my lord?
When Magnus finishes his chicken scratchings, I then want you to take this document to the scribes, have it proofed to make sure he doesn't sneak in any mimetic chaos bullshit, then have it mass-produced and distributed all across the galaxy to all people of authority. I don't care if you literally need to ram it down their fucking throats, just make sure they read that shit and understand it. No spam box filter shall stop my glorious wisdom this time.
Yes, my lord.
Now, gather round, children, for it is grand story time. Cue visuals. In the beginning, there was nothing. The nothingest nothing that has ever not existed. The nothing just kinda sat about and unexisted, not bothered by any such thing as existence or reality. There may have been some bits of heat energy floating about, but that shit doesn't count. Eventually, however, this frigid, lonely expanse of plot hole level nothing got sick of being nothing and decided to get a job. So all the energy bits sucked themselves into a ball smaller than the level of progress made since I was put on this over-glorified Porto Potty lighthouse. Then, the energy exploded with the force of something that you'd compare giant fucking explosions to. There has never been, and never will be, an explosion as big as this one. It was so big that it's literally still happening right now.
Wait, what caused the heat to compress and explode like that?
I don't fucking know. Dark matter, plane walkers, precursors, a bunch of geeks with nothing better to do making a badass fictional universe for the purpose of inevitably selling inordinately expensive plastic miniatures? It could have been anything. So after the mega-explosion, atoms started to take form from the massive amounts of energy that floated around, and these atoms started recombining, collapsing, and forming themselves into elements, molecules and compounds. These substances, unlike energy, had mass and decided to get closer to each other because now this new thing called gravity applied to them, because that's just what fucking happened. Fuck this boring comic shit, let's get to the good stuff. As matter formed into big lumps, these lumps became celestial formations. Stars, planets, nebulas, asteroids, comets. Eventually, due to conservation of energy and some weird chemical reactions, life eventually formed on these lumps of space crap. Supposedly, the first life that came about was a race of beings that became known as the Old Ones. The reason for this nickname is that they were the ultimate rulers of reality and evolution, and they were really fucking old, go figure. These beings are the shitty, neglectful grandparents of all that is life. They evolved so damn hard that they eventually became spiritual entities, discovering the so-called realm of souls. As a side note, as you can see, they looked something like big, fat amphibians before they evolved into beings of pure power. So that's a lot of progress for a bunch of giant hyper-intelligent toadmen. Come to think of it, that sounds a lot like the administratum.
Incomprehensibly powerful for almost no reason.
Toadman, you rose-tinted typewriter with a fucking mouth. Anyway, they then decided to create other species for shits and giggles. Some said that they created all life after themselves, but I'm not so sure on that one. Perhaps they helped push the boat out, but they certainly didn't fucking build it.
So these old ones didn't create humanity?
That's what I just said, you hollow-headed ninny. Most life evolved in one way or another, and anyone who doesn't accept that is probably really drunk.
Lorgar's going to have fun with this.
Continuing on. Next to arrive were a bunch of floozy fucking milksops that you would recognize as the Eldar. Due to the fact that, early in their evolution, they reproduced like space rabbits, they actually ended up becoming the dominant race in the galaxy. The Oldones were more like spread-out singularities of imbalanced min-max hanging around here and there. But neither race really cared for each other, so they coexisted peacefully, one spreading like a pointy-eared plague, while the other pooped out orangutans, more frogmen, and races with unpronounceable names. But then came the Necrontyr.
Wait. That sounds familiar.
Strap yourselves to something, because here comes the most obvious plot twist of the fucking century. The Necrontyr were salty assholes because they had evolved on a shitty, radiation-blasted planet. They built underground cities that seriously looked like depressing tombs because their life sucked so much that they would rather wait out their own death than do much else. After years of being subservient to their animosity, like an entire race of entitled middle-aged people, They became envious of both the Old One's incredible powers and the Eldar's massive galaxy-spanning girth. Of course, they were little more than an irritating bunch of self-pitying tearjerkers to such powerful races. Eventually, however, the spite of the Necrontyr became so mighty that they started hating all life in the galaxy, even themselves, and decided to start murdering literally everything. However, they soon realized that manually making sure every single grass straw on a planet was dead was really fucking tedious, so they started snooping around for something to make into a super weapon. That led to them finding a weird bunch of gas orbiting the super radioactive star that had turned their planet into the Empire of Atomic Bombia. They suddenly noticed that the gas was feeding on the very energy of the star. It turned out that the gas was alive, but not in the same sense as other life forms. It had evolved in a whole different way, and was technically even older than the old ones. Of course, all it actually did was eat radiation and, be what is basically celestial fart gas. But of course, these assy Necrondards just had to fuck with this peaceful, sun-eating anomaly. They proceeded to collect as many of these weird sentient gas clouds as they could find and forge bodies of living metal for them, because what isn't that the first idea that comes to your mind as well? They used the gas's own radiation-eating abilities to lure the dormant consciousnesses of them into the bodies they had made via the use of a bridge of starlight, or some pretentious shit like that. So after eons of peacefully orbiting stars and eating radiation, these beings, which knew no other need than to drift around and consume, were suddenly given incredibly powerful physical forms and hypercomputerized synthetic brains to give them all the knowledge the Necrontry hearts had collectively acquired. As you can guess, this went swimmingly for everyone involved.
Wait, I think I can guess who these guys are now.
Congratulations.
These gas entities, they became the Catan, and the Necrontyr became the Necrons?
Give this man a PhD, because that's some serious brain power for a giant armored potato chip. But yes, these beings, in their fancy new bodies, with their big new brains, were named the Catan by the Necrontyr, and were worshipped as gods. The Catan weren't nice though. They absorbed all the living metal the Necrontyr had amassed, and used it to transform this massive species of psychopaths into a race of living, murderous machines who mindlessly served them. They also ate most of the Necrontyr's souls while they were at it, because they were ungrateful assholes like that. That's also when these mounds of fluid dickery discovered that souls were far more appealing than space radiation. I guess souls have more nutrition or something. So the Catan started looking back through the extensive memories of the Necrontyr, now renamed Necrons for some reason, and saw that the old ones had the biggest, tastiest souls of them all, and decided that it would be a good idea to eat them. When the Catan came gnawing at the old one's front door, the old ones of course decided to punch the shit out of them with their minds, like all grandparents do. But that's when they noticed that their psychic powers were useless against both them and the Necrons, because they had no souls of their own. This started a massive galaxy-wide massacre of the old ones that went so far that they nearly became extinct. I guess you could say that the old ones got their life towed away from them.
Seriously though, that's awful.
Well, I guess the Necrontyr got what they wanted in the end.
Not quite. See, some of the old ones survived, and they decided that the only way to stop this imminent galactic doom is to fuck up in an equally as awful manner as the Necrontyr. Thus, they created a new race, one which could fight the soulless Necrons for them. A race with strange reality-bending powers fueled by crowd mentality instead of souls. A race that knew and desired only war and destruction. A race that could weaponize anything and was almost impossible to kill. A race that became known then as the Krorks, or, as we know them today, the Orcs, because shortening names is a thing.
What?
Greenskins?
There's a plot twist you didn't see coming. The Orcs were actually important all along. So yeah, while the Krorks were fighting the Necrons, the Eldar were shitting their collective frilly panties because they knew that they were next on the menu. So they decided to salvage as much of the old one's tech as they could and fuse it with their own. Believe it or not, the Webway was actually a creation of the old ones, but the Eldar nicked off with the designs, like the thieving bastards they are. That said, by combining Webway technology and the power of the Realm of Souls, they created a new type of material to combat the living metal of the Necrons called Wraithbone. The Wraith constructs were sent into battle alongside the Krorks to fight back the Necrons. Turns out that while the Catan were immune to psychic powers, it seemed as they couldn't handle being Wraithboned.
From the moment I heard the name come up, I knew you'd say that.
Why aren't you the smartest kid on the fucking block?
Of course I am.
No wonder you were bullied by your brothers.
No, that's just uncalled for.
Anyway, just when things started to go down the drain for the Cat 10, things got even worse for them, as one particular asshole among them known as the Deceiver, good friends with the Eldar Laughing God, brought together the most edgy Cat 10 he could possibly find, creatures with names that only the most lonely of people could come up with, such as the Nightbringer, the Void Dragon, and the Outsider. The Deceiver then said to his fellow celestial gas canisters,
All the other Cat 10 are weak and being killed off. We should eat them before they die so their powers won't be wasted.
Thus, the Cat 10 started infighting, and began to eat each other, while also being destroyed by the Kroorks and the Eldar, because that is clearly what an intelligent life form would do. So much destruction was caused in this, the first Great War, that the Cat 10 suddenly realized they were expending more energy than they were absorbing, and would run out of power if they kept this up. All according to plan, Shagorath said as he laughed away the night with the Deceiver.
Killing all of your allies in the middle of a giant war was apparently a bad idea. Who would have fucking thought?
Plus, they simply decided to retreat back to the Tomb Worlds with their Necron armies to wait for the universe to become plump, juicy and unprepared again.
It would seem that at some point during that time, the Necrons must have regained some consciousness and taken revenge against the Catan for screwing them over.
So I have been led to believe.
Although, to be honest, it kind of sounds like they deserved what happened to them. That's what you get for being a filthy Xeno, after all.
So with that giant clusterfuck out of the way, you'd think things would get better. But nope. This giant war had left the universe a complete fucking mess. The old ones were near extinct. The Eldar were still scared shitless, and worst of all, the Kroorks, with no Necrons left to fight, turned on their creators since the old ones had forgotten to install a fucking off switch. Fortunately, they could be held at bay due to having no technology of their own. That said, something worse than Necrons was on the horizon. You see, all the souls who were eaten, and all those who died in the battles created a major imbalance in the realm of souls. This imbalance within the outer realm corrupted and twisted it with all the ill will, fears, and general lack of common fucking decency that life now collectively experienced. Nightmarish spiritual entities started to emerge from the darkness of the realm, like a giant galactic panic attack. It was at this point that the first demons emerged, and the realm of souls was given a new name.
The Warp! That all makes sense.
Yup. Not only did that war fuck up the universe, but it fucked up the outer realms of the universe too. Compared to that war, this 10,000-year-old conflict that started when fucking Horus decided to be a bad boy is barely a blip on the radar. Puts things into context, doesn't it?
I suddenly feel small, and I don't know how to feel about that.
You'll get used to it. Besides, you're shorter than most of your brothers anyhow.
That's entirely my choice, and you know it.
But where were we, humanity, during all of this?
We were all busy evolving from primates into tribal cavemen, picking our noses, and fornicating in the ways that primitive beings do. But not for long. You see, warp storms caused by this huge war fucked the galaxy over. And additionally, demonic predators of the warp finished off most, if not all, of the remaining old ones. It's like some complete-ass wipe suddenly invaded an old folks' home, demolished all their belongings, and subjected all old people to summary executions. And then another completely unrelated group came along and did the exact same thing all over again. The Eldar, realizing their own incredible fragility, decided fuck it. Literally. And so they did. Constantly. So much so that they repopulated the galaxy again, became the dominant species once more, and ruined their own reproductive cycle to the point of near non-functionality. I mean, I know you'll lose it if you don't use it, but if you use it fucking constantly, it's gonna get worn out and shrivel up. It's at this point that the idiot says what species emerged.
The what?
I am absolutely hilarious, even after all these millennia.
Oh,
I still don't get it.
So, actual humans finally started coming forth out of the evolutionary fuckfest at this point, and a handful of them gained psychic powers similar to that of other species carrying souls around. These early-day psychers called themselves shamans, and they were totally super badass, guiding humanity by learning about the ways of nature and the universe's history, through the power of the realm of souls and probably some shrooms. However, when the doddering demon douches accompanied with an entire gang of horribly unnecessary creatures like enslavers and psychnoians started to show up, the shamans started to be horribly killed off in spasmtastic manners. So of course, the shamans decided they needed to put their heads together to solve the problem. So they did. Again, literally. By combining their very souls, psychic powers, knowledge, and strength through ritualistic mass suicide. They achieved in the blink of an eye something that had taken the old ones an entire species worth of evolution to do. They all became a single living being of spiritual energy and power. In short, they created me.
Yeah! Yeah!
Are you two done gawking yet?
Almost.
Just a second.
Sigh. Greater than left parenthesis, snails evolve legs faster than you loafers get over this shit.
Okay. I think it's mostly out of my system now. I was actually confused for the first time in as long as I can remember.
The last time you were confused, you started to fucking bawl.
I did not. Confusion just makes my eyes water is all.
Don't you start making excuses, you little crybaby you.
I'm gonna use your bones as a xylophone.
Go ahead, mop hair, see
How
how
about
it
you
works out
shut
for
your
you.
keyboard? Anyway, why did you not tell anyone of this before?
Because you never fucking asked, that's why. Besides, what was written down was apparently censored by those charming fucknuggets in the Inquisition.
That's just fantastic. I'll take my chance and ask a million questions now then. You ready?
You get to ask one before I continue.
Why? Does my pure, flawless father have some sordid detail to hide?
No, it's because if I had to field every question your nerd brain could devise, we'd be here for another 40,000 years.
Do I get to ask a question, my lord?
No, go away! I am the one asking the questions here.
Go ahead then, Horntits. Make it good.
Are you, technically, still human?
Are Space Marines, Custodes, and you Primarchs still human? Same answer. No and yes. I am human in the sense that I was born of and am the product of humans. My soul is innately human. However, I am not a mere man. I am what humanity could achieve if we evolved, as the old ones did. The shamans who created me just took a shortcut, similar to how I took a few shortcuts when creating you guys. We are basically various stages of accelerated human evolution. Humans, Space Marines, Custodes, Primarchs, and then myself.
Huh.
Do you mind enlightening us further with this grand universal story, my lord?
Of course. About a year after the whole mega evolution by suicide thing, I was born to regular human parents. The shamans that killed themselves had combined to become one giant soul, and entered my mother while she was still pregnant. This was 50,000 years ago. During my first years of life, I was a powerful but reckless young man. At that point in time, most of my life consisted of crushing my enemies, driving them before me and hearing the lamentation of a woman. I was honestly kind of an asshole. A handsome, muscle-bound asshole. However, as time went by I felt more and more of my past lives impose upon me, revealing who I truly was. Ancient wisdom, immense power, and a strong sense of right filled my body to the brim. I was no longer who I used to be. I was now a handsome, muscle-bound god-like being who could use magic. I was the greatest thing since myself before the transformation. After this incredible power boost, I started roaming around Terra, or Earth, as it was called at the time, like a ghost. I watched from the shadows as mankind grew, waiting, influencing, and sometimes scaring small children. Fast forward a couple of millennia. It was the year M25, and the age of strife had come. Humans had spread all across the galaxy, and all was fine and dandy. But suddenly, as if some idiot repeatedly rammed his head against the shitstorm button, a whole cockload of psychers suddenly emerged on every single world. As you well know, psychers use the warp to do magic and shit, but untrained psychers are pretty bad at it and usually attract warp predators when doing so. First it seemed fine. A lot of people's initial reaction was, hey, wizards are real, neat. But then bam, demons all across the planet, good fucking job. The only planets that survived this fate were those that performed witch hunts and brutally murdered psychers wherever they popped up. You can imagine how popular murder cult religions were at the time. To serve as the puss icing on this rot cake, warp storms started fucking up the galaxy immensely again. As mankind depended on the warp to make it from planet to planet, every human colony was isolated from one another, as going through the warp during a warp storm is incredibly stupid. This was especially awful in Terra's case, as Terra depended on other planets for its groceries and toilet paper. This left the people of Terra in a severe state of famine and itchy-ass clefts. Terra soon became naught but a blasted desert, a shadow of its former self. Here, a bunch of cartoon villains called techno-barbarians roamed free and fought one another for territory. As Terra was utterly fucked up beyond all recognition, I decided to finally reveal myself to mankind, since screaming at it from the sidelines clearly didn't fucking work. So I picked up some hardy boys, augmented them massively, and gave them the name Thunder Warriors, the greatest warriors on Terra. For the record, these fellows were the predecessors to the Space Marines. Suffice it to say, the day was saved because I'm just that good.
Right, so now I've heard all about your biography. But what happened to the rest of the universe between now and then?
If you really want to hear the boring parts, fine. To make a long story slightly less long, while Earth was in its infancy, and I was protecting it from all the serial killers outside, the Eldar fucked up. Again, literally. And yes, I will reuse this joke as often as I like, because I'm the motherfucking Emperor, and I am allowed to do that. I'm hilarious. This was the point in time in which the Eldar managed to murder fuck the Chaos God Slaanesh into existence, which was the final coffin, to hit the nail into the hammer for any sense the realm of souls once had. From that point on, it was a technicolor hellscape of sexual fluids and jumbled thoughts. Slaanesh managed to agitate the other Chaos Gods into going full fuck force, as they hadn't done anything worth noting since the medieval ages, when they were born. This started an instant mass production of demon hookers and punch meat monsters. This incredibly violent space birth even managed to rupture the galaxy's privates, which created the gaping, expansive warp hole in the center of the galaxy that is nowadays known as the Eye of Terror, because the dick demons clearly needed a bigger hole to poke into. As Slaanesh was born and the Eye of Terror was formed, most every Eldar in the galaxy died as a result of this galactical miscarriage. The only ones lucky enough to survive were those far away from the Eldar homeworlds. In addition, Slaanesh also did to the Eldar what the Ctan did to the Necrontyr, making it so Slaanesh automatically receives all Eldar's souls upon their death, unless they use protection. This totally proves that I'm the only god-like entity in the universe that didn't fuck things up for its own people. Not that you should call me a god, or anything, I'm just saying—
And we are infinitely thankful for that, my lord.
You better damn well be. Anyway, things do take a small upturn here. The good news was that since the galaxy was finally out of its bipolar pregnancy stage, the Eye of Terror blew away all the warp storms that had fucked up the galaxy, making space travel possible again. Thus, with the Eldar out of the way, the universe pretty much empty of all worthy life, and the Age of Strife over, I took humanity and decided it was time to conquer the stars, reuniting the human planets that had been isolated and lost during the Age of Strife with the newly formed Imperium of Man. And it went well at first. Everyone was holly-jolly and loved me. I began preparing for the Great Crusade, and everyone had a good time. At this point, I also made the Prime Arcs, my very own children, that would help me lead mankind to total galactic domination. But then, those giant material ball sacks known as the Chaos Gods scattered all across the galaxy, shitting and giggling as they went. So with that, I had to go out and relocate all my sons once more, which was a pain in the side. After I had done that, however, and the Great Crusade was at full go, everyone was happy again, except the 100 or 200 planets we annihilated. But as you know, fucking Horus's massive temper tantrum happened right after that. The rebellion happened, I was put on this throne. Most of my sons either disappeared or died. The entire Imperium shat its united long johns. That stupid age of apostasy happened, and those fucking tyrants apparently showed up. Oh, and those tau creatures too, if that is worth mentioning.
It's not.
And somewhere in the interim, the Eldar mostly split into two factions, one which wants their species to become great again, as if that will ever happen, and one which simply doesn't care about anything other than being disturbed by little sweat goblins. And that's the how and why of humanity, the galaxy, and the gloomy fuckfest we're all invited to. You get all of that?
Sure, but you did seem to skim over a lot of stuff near the end.
Yes. For instance, all that stuff about the Dark Age of technology. Like, what's the Man of Iron? You mentioned him earlier.
And what happened to the few surviving old ones?
And what about those sensitive people that I just remembered are a thing?
While I enjoy filling your brain bowels with crap, I now have a massive super headache. I need to take a break. I guess the book could be published in 2 volumes for double the profit. I'll tell you about the Dark Age of technology and other stuff like that later. Also, what the flying fuck is a sensei?
You know, your human descendants?
You mean the descendants of the families of the shamans who gave their lives to form me? Isn't that like all of humanity?
Not exactly what I meant.
Good, I never liked Uncle Ragnar anyway. But really though, what in the fuck do you mean? You aren't saying some of my human partners actually survived having intercourse with me? And moreover, gave birth to actual children?
The fact that the Sensei are incredibly powerful psychers with changeling-like abilities, much like small versions of yourself, seems to indicate this. They also share a very sharp jawline.
Well shit. Come to think of it, this is actually the first kind of sort of pleasant surprise I've had since meeting my Centaurian and hearing about those astronauts. I have surviving heirs as well as my Primarchs. I mean, I only made you guys because I didn't think that reproduction for me would be possible any other way.
That's nice to...
But seriously, as far as I knew, none of the people I'd introduced to Big E had been able to handle it, and most of them had pretty explosive climaxes. And literally.
I didn't need to know any of that.
This is the kind of knowledge that should remain a mystery.
Come to think of it, I never thought to check back on any of them after the first night. Now I genuinely feel kind of bad.
That's a first.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it was just mutual fun, and they were willingly getting into it. And I didn't leave any of them unsatisfied, nor was I going out of my way to be a jerk about the whole thing. It's just, you know, me being who I am. Maybe I was a bit too rough. And seriously, I didn't knowingly leave them to their fate. I just figured that with all those broken bones and all that blood and...
I can't hear this! I don't want to be on this planet anymore!
Sorry, I'm getting carried away. Sigh. It was my favorite bone. I sure do miss it.
I'm just glad that I have no such urges or interests at all. My only desire is to serve you, my lord.
That can easily be skewed in all the wrong ways. It's a good thing that shitty fanfic writers aren't anywhere near here.
Don't jinx it, father.
So, back to the new topic at hand. I presume these sensei people are basically treated like demigods by you plebeians? Either way, I want you to send someone to go out and find them for me, and bring as many of them here as possible. This should make the family reunion even better.
About that.
You're going to tell me something that will make me pop a planet, aren't you?
The Inquisition has been hunting them down and killing them as they see them as vile mutants and a threat to their Imperial canon. The rest seemingly vanished with no explanation before the Inquisitors could get to them. We should go. I should go. I better go. I'm Commander.
Well, I found the bottom after all. I think I feel a grumble.
Sweet pepperoni with a side of bologna, warp storms. The planet reports that it'd be a beautifully smoggy day.
Inquisitors, the time has come. We, the eternal watchers of mankind, have come to lay waste to the foolish traitors that have infected and corrupted the very core of our Imperium. We are here to heed the call of our Emperor. We are here to save him. Remember our plans. Dispatch of their retinues and defense mechanics with all haste! Terra has the mightiest fortifications to ever exist, but we shall never give up. Our faith in the Emperor will break through any wall. Go! Charge! Where is everybody? Why is no one attempting to stop our righteous crusade through Eternity Gate?
Oh, maybe they went on a business trip together. That's what my parents did. And my second parents. And all my friends. And my dog.
Well, I presume they are expecting us to enter into the Imperial Palace. When we do, I foresee they'll attack us with all they have. Soldiers, make ready! When we step through these once sacred doors, we'll be greeted with a vanguard of traitors like no other.
It's a slavish demon!
Shoot it, shoot it!
Cease fire, you imbeciles!
Bang, bang, bang.
Decius, I am not sure what an Energlad's bloated ballsack you are doing, but may I suggest that you actually fight back when someone is invading the Imperial Palace?
What in the Emperor's name are you doing here? So early in the morning, no less. Are you really so dumb that you're going to come back here and force your way into the throne room?
Well, I cannot say it's been very hard so far. Where did the mighty bulwark of the palace go? Actually, has it ever even existed?
Yes, of course it has. We've just retired it because, well, the Emperor wanted us to.
The Emperor has not ordered a thing. It is all the work of the Adeptus Custodes, attempting to ruin the Imperium from inside out.
Shut your borscht hole and get out of here before I do something.
And what would that be? Are you going to pierce us with your phallic cranium?
I'll call on my ministry to dispatch you. Don't you underestimate us, Fyodor.
Oh, what are you going to do? Cite passages out of a book at us? Ow! Oh, come on, this is really happening? Damn it! Kill these useless lollygaggers!
Activate Rosarii, the Emperor protects!
Will it test my patience, Ecclesiarch? Soldiers, throw your grenades! The Ecclesiarchs are still standing? There shouldn't be anything left! This is impossible!
Impossible. Impossible is not part of the Inquisition's vocabulary, my friend.
Who said that? Lord Inquisitor Courtiers, Torquemada. I did not expect such a guest of honor was going to enlighten us with his presence.
The pleasure is all mine. Could you possibly enlighten me to the situation that is at hand?
We cannot get through this blasted line of Rosariuses. We need to so we can get to the Emperor and save him from the traitorous Custodes that have taken him hostage.
Order your men to stop their firing. I will show you my personal army belt. Operator, it is time. Do the, how you say, funky monkey.
We are driving the barrel. Press forward. Throw more things. Send these motherless bastards crawling back to their holes. For the Emperor!
Hey, found a barrel. I haven't ever seen a barrel in the Imperial Palace before.
Oh, what's in it?
I don't know.
Huh. I guess we found the abbess of the Adeptus Sororitatis' secret vibrator stash.
At long last!
Not my arm!
Mom? Dad? Is it really you?
Monkeys? Really? That's the great secret of Courtiers, Torquemada?
Yes, what about them?
I am, well, to say the least, unimpressed. Actually, I would go as far as to say I think I just lost all my respect for you.
Why don't you step off that overglorified porta potty you call a throne of judgment and say that to my face? or are you going to have your deep fryer kill me for doing your job better than you?
Oh no, I would not want to rid you on the off chance to die on the old folks' planet where you belong.
I have to take my leave now, as I have a movie to shoot. Try not to kill the Emperor for being innocent or whatever it is you could possibly accuse him of, su loco puta.
They've broken through. The Inquisition is on their way into the throne room.
Well, what are you talking about? What? They can't do that! That's illegal!
You need to call on your soldiers. They're going to make it to the Emperor.
Well, I'm not too sure about doing stuff that the Emperor told us not to do. I mean, this is the first actual order we've gotten in, ever. Maybe we should actually abide by it for once.
I barely remember what you do when you follow an order. This is so exciting.
But they are going into the Emperor's throne room. Don't you understand, you fools?
Hold on a moment. Just had an idea. What if we threw this food at Decius's head?
What?
Why, that's the most splendid idea I've ever heard.
Let you shoot the food, make the topic move.
What are you despicable old sacks talking about?
There! Now he doesn't have to stress out over stupid shit anymore. Ah, look at him. Sleeping there like a billy goat with a hat on.
Now let's stop breathing, kids. It's getting really hot and full of carbon dioxide in here.
We have made it. We made it! Now, soldiers, behind these doors await the most hefty and Herculean enemies that we shall ever face. You must all prepare yourselves for the most grueling, frightful, but glorious battle to ever take.
Come on, Fyodor, you already held like 2 speeches about preparing ourselves, and both of the times nothing actually happened.
Be quiet, Dominique! But fine, we'll just open the door, you whining bunch of... A demon is in the presence of the God Emperor!
Who is this brazen fool and who left the door unlocked?
Silence, filthy demon spawn! I, Fyodor Karamazov of the God Emperor's Holy Inquisition, has seen through your devious plan.
I'm not sure you understand.
We have come here to banish you back from whence you came, destroy all that you have corrupted, and reform the Imperium with the God Emperor as our very witness.
See what I was talking about when I said the Imperium is sunken together like a failed souffle?
Prepare to be purged from this existence, you one-eyed abomination!
Father, can you tell him what's going on here?
I said silence!
Under Karamazov.
My Emperor. You said my name.
Yes. I have felt your presence ever since you arrived on Terra.
Ever since I arrived?
Yes. You have come here faced with complete adversity, having searched through the entirety of Terra in your staunch diligence. You have been halted in your progress by the very leaders of the Imperium, but you have carried on. Even have you been confronted by my very own bodyguards, and told directly that I am the one who ordered the disbanding of your organization. Yet you have not given up on your conviction that everyone is plotting against you, and that the very core of the Imperium has become corrupt.
That is precisely right, my Emperor.
Well, now that you have come so far, I believe it is due time to tell you that you have done a great job.
What
the fuck? Thank you, Holy God Emperor, to be recognized by the very essence of humanity, to be hailed by the one true ruler of the galaxy.
It is of no concern, Fyodor. I am actually quite humbled myself that you never gave up on your ludicrous ideas even though all sense went against you, and decided to break into my palace anyway.
Really, my Emperor? You really think so?
Yes, of course, my child. Truly, you are the greatest hero I have ever had the pleasure of being rescued by.
Oh, well, thank you, my Emperor. Not to brag or anything, but I do think I'm pretty great.
What the fuck, Fyodor? I told you the exact same thing yesterday, and then you just kicked me.
Be quiet, Dominique.
In fact, I would even go so far as to take the title from my old friend Malcolm Dorr, my one true friend, and only person I have ever had nothing but complete and utter respect for, and give that title to you instead.
You truly think I deserve such a thing, my Emperor? I mean, I've always thought so myself when I stare at myself in the mirror. But do you really think so as well?
Why, yes, Fyodor. Your looks perfectly match your sharp wit and unmatched prowess in combat.
I'm very sorry to interrupt, but enemy is still present in the room.
Yes, hello.
Perhaps we should dispatch of him?
I'm not sure what makes you think you are allowed to talk, little xeno fetishist, but I suggest that you shut your fucking mouth, as I'm just about to crown the new emperor here.
Ah, the new emperor!
Why, yes, of course, my child. An imperium must always have an active ruler, and it only makes sense if that leader has the title of emperor, and since I am no longer an emperor, but a god, it would only be fair to pass that title on to someone such as you, Fyodor.
Fyodor, did you take your meds this morning? Father, what in the warp are you doing?
You, Fyodor, will be in direct control of the entire Imperium, including all branches of the Inquisition, the entirety of the Ecclesiarchy, all of the Adeptus Terra, and every single Astartes in the galaxy. You will lead mankind to a new age where all have faith in the one true God, and the rightful ruler of mankind, being me and you respectively. All heretics in the galaxy will die horrible deaths and mankind will reign supreme. No xenos, mutants, or poor people allowed.
It's just what I've always dreamed of.
Yes, I am aware, Fyodor. I have seen all your dreams.
You have?
Yes. Would you like to know why?
Why is that, my Emperor?
Because you and I are the same.
We are?
Why, yes, partner. When fucking Horos mortally wounded us during the Horus heresy, when we were confined to the Golden Throne, our souls started to splinter and float away from one another. A piece of that soul found its way to your mother, impregnating her with you. You were destined to be the savior of mankind ever since your birth, as you were both my son and part of me at the same time. This is both why you are here, and why you are so perfect, Fyodor.
It all makes sense now!
Yes, Fyodor. You have been led here for the grandest purpose the universe shall ever take part in. You must defeat my traitorous son Magnus the Red, who has taken me hostage.
Yes, I'm ready. This is what I've trained for all my life. This is what No, my Emperor, this is what we have planned for millennia. The prophecy has come true. Mankind is finally saved.
I am officially done with this.
My children, charge!
Father, what was that all about?
I haven't experienced such sublime schadenfreude since I burned the last church of Terra. Seriously though, good job with the massive warp rifting, just as I expected.
My lord, none of what you said was true, right?
I am offended by the fact that you even assume this.
I still do not understand a thing. Why were they even here?
Well, a while ago I decreed the disbanding of the Inquisition and the Ecclesiarchy because they were fucking stupid and completely went against what the secular imperium I invented 10,000 years ago stood for.
What, really? That is... well, I cannot say it sounds like the best idea you ever had.
Don't worry, it totally is, because as a result of my masterful planning, you just sent the worst parts of the Inquisition straight into the bowels of the warp.
So, this was all part of your plan?
You fucking bet. You lipstick-looking brotherfucker.
So, hold up. You only brought me here so I could send the Inquisition into the warp?
No. You are also here to take the blame for it.
That's... what?
Wait. Hold on, Theodore. Don't you... My Emperor.
Spare me your religious worship, Top Hat.
You actually speak. I mean, I am very sorry, my Emperor. Please forgive me for intruding in this most holy place in which I am not worthy of being. I was just trying to stop that foolish Inquisitor from invading.
Yes, and that is all very good indeed. You have passed my test.
Your test?
Certainly. I sent out my decree about disbanding the Inquisition and the Ecclesiarchy to root out the biggest probable sources of corruption within the Imperium. To see that you, the primary ruler of the Adeptus Ministorum, decided to keep yourself loyal instead of going batshit crazy and burning shitloads of houses in response to my decree is a sign that you and your organization might be salvageable.
My lord, I don't understand. Salvageable? Have we gone against your will?
You better believe you fucking have. I specifically stated that I never wanted to be worshipped as a god 10,000 years ago. The book that you preach from is actually written by my son Lord Gar, who just happens to be what you people would call a giant fucking heretic.
Oh, my Emperor. Is this true?
I'm sorry to tell you this, but your entire life and your whole organization is based around lies and deceit.
I'm so sorry. I have failed.
Stop your sniveling, you fucking popesicle.
Huh?
I told you that you have passed my test, and I therefore deem you worthy of reforming your organization to serve my true intentions. The time is nigh to fix the plumbing of this Imperium, as layers upon layers of sanctimonious shit has clogged it up for too many millennia.
That is... I am most humbled, my Emperor. I will follow you no matter where you may lead us.
See, if everyone said that, we wouldn't have any problems ever. Take notes, Magnus.
Yeah, 1 second you're all like, I don't want to be a god, and the next you're like, but you should all still treat me like one.
Be quiet before I pour Prometheum juice into your eye.
But my lord, I have a question if I may.
Yes, you may still wear your stupid fucking hat.
That was my second question, actually. But my Emperor, if I'm to reform the Adeptus Ministorum to work as you intended to, would that not spawn giant chasms of disbelief and rebellion within the entirety of mankind? We have been indoctrinated into believing the Lectitio Divinitatus for millennia.
Easy solution. We will release a reprint of the book that is actually completely different. It should have a shiny cover, some pretty pictures, and the Emperor's seal of approval upon it. We'll release it all over the galaxy, and make sure every fucker in the Imperium reads it. And don't worry about them suspecting foul play. From my personal experience with the current-day citizens of the Imperium, they couldn't tell an Aquila symbol from a fucking parrot.
Very well, my lord. Thank you for setting my path straight. I have a lot of work to take care of, but I shall succeed in your name.
Fantabulous. Go forth, Schlongtop. Oh, and while you are at it, send a message to the remaining Inquisitors out there that they can keep their jobs because they are total assholes.
I shall do so, my lord. I will not fail.
If you require any aid in writing the reprint, just come up here and I shall graciously help you out like the merciful not god that I am.
Thanks a million times over, my lord. I shall take you up on that offer. Emperor bless... have a great day, my lord.
Well, that was certainly something.
I'm just surprised you didn't notice the giant crimson demon standing in the middle of the room.
Well, I presume that's all fine and good, since he's not even supposed to recognize that I or any beings of chaos exist anymore. Just like the good old days.
Hello now. I did tell you that I'm not going for the smokes and mirrors approach anymore.
What are you even talking about? You just sent like 80% of the Inquisition into the warp by tricking their leader that he was you.
Well, he never fucking asked if I was telling the truth or not.
Actually, I think he did.
Shut your fuck-ass mouth before I put you back into the box.
Yeah,